In the next 10 minutes, Garen arranged for the doctor and nurse to take care of his master, calmed down the slightly frantic disciples and trainees, and finally let the juniors go to rest. He then asked one of the disciples to find a quiet room to discuss everything with Su Lin in detail. The place they were led to was decorated with wooden furniture which gave it a classical vibe. Redwood walls and floor, a wooden table and chair, even the teacups were made of redwood. The two of them sat down across from each other. 2 wooden cups, with steam rising slowly from them, were placed in the middle of the redwood table. Garen gently touched the missing edge of the wooden table. This time, a lot of the disciples have left. Plenty of places look torn down, which are obvious signs of the time when senior sister left. Now the elder senior brother is gone, too, and senior brother is prohibited from leaving. The entire gate feels empty and deserted. But that's fine, let's not talk about it. Tell me about what is troubling you. Su Lin grabbed the teacup with a bitter smile. This is why I need your help. To be honest, when I found you in the first place, I had the intention of looking for a bodyguard. I don't care about your intentions. The fact that you helped me out twice cannot be understated. Garen interrupted him to stop him from talking. Tell me about your troubles. I can't believe that with the force of the organization they can't protect you. Golden Luke possesses force only on paper. I've gotten into a conflict with an assassin organization, and one of the strongest ones in the world, Duskdun Shira. Su Lin's face was distressed. As to how I got into a conflict with them, I don't even know myself. All I know is that starting from next summer, they will officially take action. Duskdun Shira, are they powerful? Garen asked in an undertone. I'm not familiar with these things, you know. Let me make a comparison for you. Imagine them as disciples from the Celestial Circle Gate with mastery in weapons, special techniques, combat mastery, assassination, plus they never fight in the open and always look for an opportunity to deceive. I'm not afraid of them myself, but I'm worried about my family. They don't have the ability to defend themselves and can only rely on the protection of others, Su Lin said with impotence clear in his voice. I've used all kinds of excuses to find impeccable protection for my parents, but it's just not enough for my sister. Does this Duskdun Shira have any Grand Masters of combat? Garen took a sip of the tea, not feeling frightened by the information. Yes, Su Lin looked at him. It's an elite Grand Master of combat that has successfully assassinated 10 other Grand Masters of combat. The organization's leader is called Duskdun Shira, one of the top 2 elite fighters in the most recent documentation. Based on it, he is also part of the Immortal Palace Alliance. Garen's hand shook slightly, and the tea almost spilled out of the cup. It's the Immortal Palace Alliance again. He originally thought that this organization was strong but secretive, yet they reappeared again. Let's not worry about Duskdun Shira for now. That can all be taken care of in the future. The most crucial task is to be ready for the Celestial Circle Gate, or else I would not be able to survive this year, let alone the next one. You are right. Su Lin tasted the tea, and his eyebrows furrowed into a frown. The tea is quite nice, but whoever made it definitely didn't possess skill. He raised his head to look at Garen. The Celestial Circle Gate is indeed powerful. However, everything must follow the same rule. Their force is not powerful enough to break it. You are implying. Garen locked his vision on Su Lin as he asked with uncertainty. I'll use the name of the military to let my dad announce that you'll be my sister's wushu teacher, Su Lin answered calmly. Wushu teacher. That's 2 birds with 1 stone. Garen's expression turned peaceful as well. My guess was also similar. Not only does it preserve the White Cloud Gate, but it also achieves what you wish for. However, before this, my father would need to personally pressure the Celestial Circle Gate. This cannot be done in an instant and will take around 10 days. You'll have to stay strong during this period. 10 days. His head lowered, Garen stared at the teacup on the table. Within it, the slightly red tea gradually spread out in waves to the edges of the cup. Good. I also want to know how powerful the renowned top fighter from the south is. Confidence is good, Su Lin smiled. The two of them sat quietly on their seats without speaking a word. They silently thought about their next steps. Knock, knock, knock. Someone was tapping on the door. Come in. Garen looked in the direction of the door. It gently opened. Colin, who had changed into a white outfit, came in and stood beside Garen. Senior brother, Buvini, who controls the assets, is here. Buvini. Garen quickly recalled this person's identity. Tell him that I suffered a severe injury and will require healing in peace. Please ask him to take care of Master's assets. Okay, senior brother. Colin nodded as he curiously peeked at Su Lin who sat across from him. In this case, I'll leave as well. I need to head back to take care of the problem with your identity and convince my father as early as possible. It would help in alleviating the severity of this incident. However, this will only be a temporary solution to your conflict with the Celestial Circle Gate. You killed the talent of their younger generation. With how those older guys act as if they're on top of the world, they will not let you go unscathed. I know, even if they want to resolve the problem, this incident was a detrimental hit to their reputation. It cannot be easily concluded for that alone. Garen was fully aware of the situation he was in. I'll head back as soon as possible. I owe you for this. Garen bowed at Su Lin. Don't worry. Su Lin smiled and gently stood up, leaving quietly. Lead Mr. Su Lin on his way out, Garen notified the disciple at the door. Yes. Kacha. The door gradually closed. Garen let out a long sigh. He sat on the chair when all of a sudden a mixture of emotions overwhelmed him. I originally thought that I was just leading an exchange gathering. After it, I would come back and continue searching for the old man's cause of death. But to my surprise, the Immortal Palace Alliance and the Celestial Circle Gate are connected somehow. There is no way that this is all a coincidence that the moment I was attacked, my master was also injured. The Southern 12 Gates are in a dangerous situation right now. The Celestial Circle Gate, the Immortal Palace Alliance, an organization of psychokinetics, an organization of martial adepts. How is everything connected? He felt like he was about to be drawn into a whirlpool of complexities and troubles. The Celestial Palace Gate was creating a force to eliminate the smaller gates. The Southern 12 Gates were the first victims, and soon the other gates would be in dire danger as well. Garen slowly stood up. He walked to the empty part of the room and gently made a standard white cloud combat arts move. Time passed minute by minute. Gradually, his furrowed eyebrows began to relax. His spirit echoed the blood flow within his body as it cycled around. He felt calm. All the time, I've been reactive in dealing with the unexpected incidents that kept occurring. I've been flowing with the tide, unable to do what I want. His whole body began to shake as if he was a tumbler. Left and right, front and back, as he kept on swaying. I have a genuine interest in martial arts, so I'll have to put all my effort into it. The Celestial Gates, Andrella, Silfallen. Garen didn't know how everything came falling down to where it was now. All of the incidents weren't caused by him, but he was a casualty caught in the middle of a landslide. Silfallen from the Immortal Palace Alliance was because of the old man, while the Celestial Circle Gate was because of his master at the White Cloud Gate. Without realizing it, he was suddenly surrounded by powerful enemies. The Celestial Circle Gate won't allow the Southern 12 Gates to have any force of resistance left. Garen knew it well. The crusade on the Southern 12 Gates is inevitable now. I just don't know how involved Andrella is in all of this. His body came to a sudden halt as if everything paused. Pung. A crisp but deafening sound. Garen's right fist thrust forward, and a white trail appeared in the air. It was the mark left by the screeching streams of air. He remembered the combat techniques he used. The wrong and ineffective moves were being gradually eliminated, and only the practical combo moves remained. He suddenly recalled the explosive move he performed at the beginning in the Celestial Circle Gate's ring. One single move to defeat the challenger, and also injure the Grand Master of Combat and himself. Though, the opponent's injury was much more critical. At that moment he only thought about unleashing all of his power. The blood chi ball in the middle of his body automatically flowed out and formed all his power into one. It then exploded into an unbelievable amount of power. He was in a state where instinct and anger mixed together, and using his body, in an instance, they gave birth to a new move. He tried to relive that moment. If I could master this power so it would be at my command, my sudden explosiveness would increase to another level. Garen closed his eyes and stood in the middle of the room. His hands continuously moved to mimic that explosive move. The screeching sound of wind breaking echoed through the air. His speed continued to increase. So did his power. Suddenly, his right arm pushed forward. Clap. It made a sound similar to hands clapping. In the direction his palm pushed toward, the curtains flew back as if a gust of wind had just passed by. Garen stopped with a look of disappointment. Still feels like something is missing compared to last time. Unfortunate. I wish there were more antiques of tragedy. The antiques of tragedy were still his best assurance of improvement. Within a year and a half, he successfully trained from a novice martial adept to the level of a grandmaster of combat. His power couldn't be undermined. He had mastered the White Cloud fundamental secret method to perfection. In other words, with his explosive fists, level, it was the highest level anyone had ever achieved. There was nowhere to advance further. The White Cloud Gate wasn't like other powerful gates that possessed more wushu moves. Mammoth's secret techniques could only be considered as third tier at best. With my current ability, I'm no match for Andrella. The difference was obvious. Even if both of us are grandmasters of combat, the secret methods we use are drastically different. Garen pondered as he chugged the tea. There are only two ways. The antiques of tragedy are a stronger secret technique. With my special ability, as long as I meet the criteria, I could learn it easily. His eyes brightened as he thought of something. Learn easily. Since the White Cloud Gate's fundamental secret method cannot meet my needs, I'll find an even lower tier secret method. Perhaps below the third tier, the even worse fourth tier, the lowest tier secret method. With my physical condition and experience, I could easily meet its requirements. Within a short amount of time, those fourth tier secret methods could improve my combat techniques significantly. Garen made up his mind. He remembered seeing low-level secret martial arts in the library of the White Cloud Dojo. Although he didn't see too many of those, it would be enough for him. No matter how weak a secret technique was, there had to be something special about it. Garen opened the door and walked towards the library. He did not see many people around in the dojo, the place was no longer busy. There were only about 7 or 8 people wandering around, and he could still see the blood stains on the floor. Garen didn't really care, and he headed straight to the library. It took him several minutes to reach the entrance and notice that the old bald man, who guarded the gate, was already gone. He could see the signs of the fight from the walls, and he knew the elder was fraught with grim possibilities. Garen was a bit relieved after he found the method to improve, but he became depressed again after seeing the scene before him. He entered the library, and everything inside was still well organized. Although Senior Sister betrayed the White Cloud Gate, she did not touch any of the low-level secret martial arts since she probably had already read everything in the library. He closed the door, lit an oil lamp, and started to check the books on the shelves. It only took him several minutes to find all the low-level secret martial arts. Garen put them down on a desk that was used for making copies and sat down. He kept the oil lamp on the side for light. There were 4 books on the desk. Iron Body, Dark Iron Palm, Lark Blade and Flame Fist. Those secret martial arts were common and almost all the dojos had them. They were usually taught to the normal disciples, but the White Cloud Gate had the explosive fist arts as the basic and the 4 low-level secret martial arts were just kept in the library as part of the collection. The 4 secret martial arts were very similar to the red hand fist Garen encountered before. They could not be put into skill combos, and it would take him a very long time to master them, so the benefit wouldn't justify the cost. Although they were put in the library, disciples read them just for fun. Secret martial arts like the 4 could be found anywhere, and they were just like the iron tunic that was in almost all the martial arts novels. Garen grabbed the Iron Body and opened it. Iron Body can increase one's body defense. It is an average secret martial arts that can be learned by taking hits while maintaining a special way of breathing. It is easy to learn, but it takes a long time to master. 5 years to complete the level 1 mastery, 10 years to complete the level 2 mastery, and 15 years to master it. If one could master the Iron Body, his body would become as hard as iron, and he would be able to resist small caliber pistols. Garen read through the instructions, but did not find them important and quickly finished the book. It was short, and the training method did not need to be paired with drugs. There were no complex techniques involved, and the person did not need to be talented. The only requirement was the will to handle all the pain during the long training years. The most important thing in this whole book was the special breathing technique. Garen remembered everything quickly and put the book down. That's why it's called low-level secret martial arts. He then finished the other 3 books, and all of them required a lot of time for one to master. Disciples needed to spend at least 5 to 7 years on the level 1 mastery of those arts. Even more so, Flame Fist required 8 years for the level 1 mastery. It had 4 levels in total, and the required time doubled for each level, which meant it would take 64 years for one to finish the last one. One won't become any stronger if he can't master one secret martial art before the age of 25. No one is going to spend 120 years to master the Flame Fist. No wonder no one touches these low-level secret martial arts. Garen wasn't too happy with what he found, but he still finished all 4 books. He did not realize it was already afternoon. Garen closed his eyes, and he could clearly see the skill bar of the light red statuses. He thought for a second, and slowly the 4 low-level secret martial arts names appeared on the skill bar. Iron Body, not started. Dark Iron Palm, not started. Lark Blade, not started. Flame Fist, not started. Various signs appeared behind the 4 secret martial arts, and those signs told Garen about the requirements for each of them. Only Lark Blade required relatively high agility, but it was still within the range that a normal person could reach. Garen could easily meet the requirements of all 4. The Lark Blade is an agility secret martial art and requires external support. It doesn't fit my style. I guess I will start with Iron Body. He wanted to use his special ability to see if he could speed up the training process. Garen's special ability could boost up his learning speed significantly. He tried studying history the last time he applied potential points to intelligence, and he could easily memorize everything he saw. As long as his intelligence was high enough, and there were no external restrictions to it, he could learn the subject at an incredible speed. He wanted to try it on the martial arts. It would be very helpful for him if it worked the same as when he was studying. The level 1 mastery of the Iron Body required the special breathing technique from the book. Garen needed to imagine himself as an inflated balloon, and once his skin turned gray, he would be able to start the level 1 mastery. Huff. Garen slowly inhaled as the book said. He needed to inhale once and exhale 9 times in a specific rhythm. It would take him 20 minutes to finish one set of inhaling and exhaling. He stood up and started practicing the special breathing technique beside the desk. The first time he could feel his muscles and skin tighten, and they also became denser. Garen was excited about the change and decided to start the second try right away. His muscles and skin tightened again. His skin turned red on the third try, and he felt like it was extremely tight. He tried the breathing technique 6 times in a row and felt relaxed after the last try. His skin's temperature was very high, and he felt like he'd just left a hot bath. He closed his eyes and looked at the Iron Body skill. Iron Body. Level 1, 2 levels. I knew it. It changed. Garen opened his eyes and tore off his collar. He could see his skin turning darker. Although its hardness hadn't reached the level of metal, he believed he would finish the level 1 mastery after a bit more training. It's valid. Garen hit his chest with his fist. Bam. Besides the normal sound of flesh, there was the sound like hitting a piece of metal. It's definitely working. I wonder if I can reach the next level. Garen tried to use the special breathing method again. However, nothing happened after more than 10 tries. He knew he needed to do the HIIT training and that the breathing technique alone would not do much, but he just wanted to give it a try. I easily learned the fundamentals after I fulfilled all the requirements, but why can't I apply the method to the basic combat techniques and the basic sword skills? Wait, I already knew the basics of the skills when I was trying to level them up, which means this ability only works when I try to learn the level 1 mastery of the skills or fundamentals. Maybe it only works with the theories that only need to be memorized. Garen recalled the days when he was learning the identification skill with the old man. He had studied it step by step, and his ability had only worked with the first book he read. His identification skill did not level up after finishing the other books. His identification skill never leveled up after that. Although he studied a lot and acquired a good amount of knowledge, that skill was still at the first level. I'm probably correct about this. Garen was now sure about his guess. His special ability could only help him quickly learn the basics after the requirements were met, which was still extremely helpful when he used it on secret martial arts. No matter how weak a secret martial art was, it would still be much stronger than any regular martial art. He could easily finish the level 1 mastery of any of the secret martial arts, and those skills would definitely be useful to him. Garen decided to use his ability to learn more secret martial arts since he wanted to know what would happen after. I'm not sure if iron body will help me become stronger, but I can try it later, Garen thought and started to prepare for the dark iron palm. He did not need any external support to learn the dark iron palm. All he required was to learn a special stance and support it with his consciousness. It was a skill that gathered all the venom in his body into his palms, and then allowed him to use it to poison opponents. It would take Garen some time, but he started the level 1 mastery with ease. He used the special stance he learned from the book and supported it with his consciousness. After about 2 hours, he felt like his hands were paralyzed, and it meant that the venom in his body had gathered into his fingers. Apparently, the level 1 mastery of the dark iron palm would not do too much for him. He only needed to gather all the venoms from his body into his palms. The more Garen practiced the skill, the more venom he would be able to handle. The technique only had 2 levels, just like the mammoth secret techniques. The next one he decided to learn was the flame fist, which was different from the other ones. Garen could feel the actual effect of the skill, but the feeling was weak, and iron body progressed much faster. It was dark outside when Garen practiced several more times, and most of the disciples had already gone back home. Garen did not eat anything besides breakfast and just stayed in the library the whole day. Andrella will be here in 10 days. I hope I'll be able to finish the level 1 mastery during that time, Garen said in a light tone. He had 3 different secret martial arts. He needed to do the strike-resistant training for the iron body, and he would be able to finish the entry level after that. The other 2 needed time, and he wasn't sure if he could finish all the level 1 masteries before Andrella came. But he was still satisfied with the results. Compared to normal people, his learning speed was already extraordinary. Since the inception of martial arts, I must be the first one that has trained multiple secret methods at once. A secret method would at least take a couple of years to train and master. The secret method is also martial arts, which means that without practice its power would deteriorate due to loss of familiarity. It's similar to going against the tide. Without a day of practice, 3 days of effort may go to waste. Without my special ability that can consolidate and reinforce the training results, it would be impossible to train other secret methods. The body's adaptability is like this. He raised his head and scanned the roof's edge in the starry night. A bright crest hung in the night sky as the moon cast a veil with its light. It would be better if I don't go home now, in case something happens in the near future, and my family will be worried. Garen made up his mind to stay at the dojo. The news of his return didn't leak out, as only a few select individuals knew about it. He gently let out a sigh. The hallway in front of the dojo's library was pitch black and silent. He strolled along the hallway. He had only taken a few steps when he saw a shadow sitting by the right wall. He walked closer to take a better look. Grace. Garen was surprised by her presence. The shadow was Grace in a professional office assistant attire. Her graceful legs were covered by a thick layer of stockings and closed together. She was curled into a ball as if she was in a chilling weather. She subconsciously opened her eyes when she heard the voice and looked at Garen in front of her. Garen, you are done. Weakness transmitted through her voice. She tried to stand up, but her legs were sore. She lost balance and almost fell. Garen caught her still in the air, feeling the fragility of her body. It was burning. Grace grasped onto his body with force. Why are you waiting here? Garen asked gently. Manuelton Corporation's intelligence gathering is impressive. I just got back, and you already know. When did you come here? Afternoon. Grace's voice dimmed, and she sounded frailer. Garen reached a hand to touch her forehead. It was burning. You have a fever. There are doctors and nurses with the master. I'll take you there for a checkup. It shouldn't be a big problem. He lifted her by the waist and strode to the room where his master rested. The dojo was silent. There was no indication of any light, either. The massive dojo appeared hollow and void. It was a short walk before they reached the room at the corner. A nurse was carrying a bucket of water from the room. The dim yellow light slipped out past the edge of the door. Simon's silhouette was dozing off beside the bed. Garen carried Grace and with a lowered voice asked, Ms. Nurse, could you please find some cold and fever medicine for my friend? No problem. The nurse was an ordinary girl with small freckles on her face, and she agreed without hesitation. But don't bring her into the room. The patient in there has not yet recovered, and he may catch a cold. Okay. Put me down. Grace began to resist Garen's hand. Her legs kicked, and her face had a vivid redness to it from the fever, which confused her senses. Garen shook his head speechlessly as he waited for a while at the door. The nurse he spoke to found another one to arrange a room for Grace. Only then could Garen find some time and walk into his master's room. Simon drooled as he had fallen asleep with his head slanted to the side against the back of the chair. Garen gently closed the door, but the sound was low enough that it didn't even wake him up. He walked over and tapped on his shoulder. "Woo." Simon slurped up the drool in a hurry. "Say, senior brother." When he saw Garen walk in, he was shocked and hastily stood up. "Your arm is still in a cast, why are you not getting any rest? Go back to your room and sleep," Garen told him with a stern face while trying to keep his voice steady. "But the dojo master," Simon wavered. "I'll be here," Garen said. "Master hasn't woken up yet." Simon's face dimmed. "No, not even once. He has been like this since we returned from the Celestial Circle Gate." "He wasn't injured that seriously, what's going on?" Garen frowned with his eyebrows raised. "I don't know, the doctor said that the dojo master's body is fine. They just don't know why he is unconscious," Simon replied with an undertone. "The dojo master is going to be okay, right, senior brother?" A worrisome expression appeared on his face. "It's going to be okay, I am here, right?" Garen patted his shoulder. "Go rest now, I'll take care of him. I have only been here for a bit, Colin was here before." Simon laughed, feeling a little embarrassed. "To be fair, you don't have to stay here with me," Garen suddenly said. "You are just regular trainees." "You don't have to say that, senior brother, we have already made up our minds, and we are going to stay at the dojo. Regardless of the results, the dojo has given us too much. This is Colin and I's choice. Carrie is different from us because she still has her parents and brother, so we convinced her to go back. Senior brother, you won't blame us for this decision, right?" Simon calmed as he expressed his thoughts. "Of course not." Garen didn't know what was the best thing to say at such a moment. "You guys don't have to do this much. Don't worry, senior brother." Simon smiled. "Colin and I are free from worry. It's the dojo master that has taught us everything. I'll go back and rest now, the master will depend on you now." You can go back." Garen nodded. He watched Simon slowly left the room and close the door. Garen was deep in thought. Compared to senior sister Rosetta, the normal core students were more like Master Fei Beiyun's disciples. During the dojo's crisis, they didn't choose to leave but instead stayed with the dojo to fight together. It was in critical times like this, when the dojo had almost fallen apart, that trust could be garnered. Garen silently sat on the chair Simon had used and looked at the master lying in bed. "Master, although the dojo is facing the most difficult situation since its inception, there are still some disciples that are worth fighting for and protecting. This is your luck, and our luck." Despite being here for only 1 year, he felt a blood connection with Fei Beiyun, who had taught him everything he knew. Fei Beiyun spent all his effort to provide him with the best route for growth. Even with Manuelton Corporation's incident, he personally stepped in to solve the issue for him. This time only Grace came. The bodyguards and Cynthia were all gone without a trace. The corporation had clearly seen that the tide had turned and recalled them. When a ship is sinking, this is the obvious choice. If we can go through this crisis together, you shouldn't disagree with Colin and Simon becoming real disciples, right? This was his last sentence before letting out a long sigh and closing his eyes to rest. Fei Beiyun was still sleeping in bed with faint hints breathing. Maybe he had heard what Garen had said, maybe not. Due to the secret method's teaching rules, only disciples could learn. Fei Beiyun had already announced that he would not teach any disciples. So Garen decided to teach himself. The best candidate was second senior brother Farik, but he was out there trying to assassinate senior sister Rosetta without any information. Although he was confident in second senior brother's abilities, Garen was afraid that external forces would be involved. For the longest time, the difference between the second senior brother and senior sister was minuscule at best. But he had been going easy on her as his force was too explosive without constraint. Thus, he would often lose against Rosetta. It would be different in a life-and-death situation. Fights between martial adepts of the same level were also dependent on the feeling that day. He sat in the master's room almost until the next morning. Only when a new nurse was about to come in to switch in, did Garen finally leave to train the secret methods. He walked around the dojo and gained a better understanding of the situation. Due to the riots in the gate, the majority of the core disciples had left. The lower-level students were sent home on vacation. The sub-gates only had people to look after the door. Colin and Simon were the only ones left in the gate. Only the core disciples knew the crisis the gate was facing. The majority of other students were not aware of the situation. Based on Dojo Master Fei Baiyun's reputation, most of them thought that everything would be normal after some time passed. They didn't know how severe the situation was. The dojo that had been once filled with over 1,000 people now only had less than 10 remaining. Not including Garen, Colin and Simon, only a few workers that had been here for years stayed. Garen strolled into the dojo while the passing rooms and hallways spoke of the emptiness of the once prosperous White Cloud Gate. Only desolate air and marks of prosperity remained. Garen left the dojo and ate breakfast at a store nearby. He then ordered some food for the people remaining and asked for it to be delivered to the dojo. He then returned to the Martial Coliseum on the second floor, where he started to train the Iron Body's secret method. It only required one more level which needed an external force to aid the training. The Martial Coliseum had a small room with heavy iron balls hanging from the ceiling. They were meant to train against hard hits. This was because the White Cloud Gate's basic explosive fist required this condition. He stood without any robes in the middle of tens of iron balls. They were the size of a human head, and Garen even added spikes on top of them. The dense iron balls were like urchins that surrounded Garen in the middle. He inhaled and exhaled before starting to follow the Iron Body's breathing method. After a complete cycle, he began furiously pushing the iron balls around him. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of collision echoed within the room. Following immediately after, were the sounds of spikes hitting against Garen. The clanking noise rang like metal impacting another piece of metal. Garen's skin began to darken to a black color, at the same time as it gained a metallic sheen. The countless metal balls swung in the room and collided with his body. They would then get pushed back from the force of his body and come back even stronger. Every metal ball weighed more than 10 pounds. With the added force, the force of the collision was at least over 100 pounds. The spikes made the area of collision decrease, which meant that the force Garen's body received drastically increased. He only felt a tingling sensation that made him want to scratch the place hit. But he knew this was normal. He practiced until noon before taking a break to eat. Eat, rest, train. Eat, rest, train. He repeated the same routine again, and again, and again. 2 days passed by in a glimpse. Finally. Dang. An iron ball with a spike smashed against the side of Garen's face. However, the crisp metal clanking noise made it sound like the ball collided against a piece of indestructible metal. Joy flashed across Garen's eyes as he forced his way out through the waves of iron balls. I'll have to trouble you for a bit. Colin stood courteously at the corner of the room with a black metal spear in his hand. The spear was as thick as a person's arm and as long as 3 metal spears, its tip piercingly sharp. Let Grace go first, Colin said, nodding. That works too. Garen didn't seem to be bothered. The two of them walked out of the practice room and into the empty Martial Coliseum. Grace was waiting in the middle of the room. She had an assault rifle in her hand. After Garen came out, she looked worried. Garen, are you sure this is okay? Don't worry, let's start. Garen nodded. Remember to wear a bulletproof vest. He had asked Grace to find an assault rifle to test his body's defense. His originally strong body's condition would require testing to determine its strength after training the Iron Body technique. Although Grace had seen Garen's impeccable physical defense, it was an assault rifle she was holding. The bullets shot from this type of weapon were powerful, piercing and in no way comparable to pistol bullets. She still had her doubts in her mind, but it was for helping Garen to train, so she listened to him. She wore a full set of bulletproof clothing, with helmet and gloves, while Colin was asked to hide in a small room nearby. She raised the assault rifle and aimed directly at Garen. Should I start? Begin firing. Garen took a deep breath, and his muscles began to tighten. His entire upper body expanded by a full size as if he was a barbarian with a giant's blood from the legends. He towered over the 170-centimeter-tall Grace. Bang, 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 bang. The rapid firing echoed through the Martial Coliseum. Garen's body exploded with tiny sparks, but they faded in a blink of an eye. The bullet impacts made the sound of metal striking metal. Poosh! Garen thrust his palm forward. He swiped his palm in front of him. The clanking sound was fiercest there. The noise of bullets colliding came to an abrupt stop. Grace stared hysterically at Garen, standing not far from her. He calmly extended his hand and faced the ground. A couple bullets dropped down, bouncing lightly up and down. In the White Gate Martial Coliseum. Garen stood naked in the middle of the Martial Coliseum. Colin and a group of hired men held onto the black spear with the tip pointed directly at his abs. Ah! They thrust the spear at Garen at full strength. They marched forward with the same rhythm as they used all of their strength to push the black metal spear forward. Their speed increased as they got closer and closer. Dang! The spear's tip collided directly with Garen's abs in a manner of striking a metal block. Garen's entire body shook as he retreated 2 steps backward before quickly regaining his balance. He pushed back against the group of 8 people. The vibration he created forced the men to drop the spear. It almost hit their feet as it fell down. It was fortunate that Colin managed to grab the spear and slowly put it down. The men stepped back. They looked at Garen with eyes full of terror, as if he were an alien. "Congratulations, senior brother," Colin exclaimed, seeing that Garen's abs were perfectly fine. "Senior brother's strength is impeccable. He can definitely beat Andrella's ass to the ground." Simon laughed hysterically. Garen shook his head speechlessly. Simon's arm had not yet recovered, but his audacity and cocky attitude had already returned. Grace calmly walked over to wipe away the sweat off of him before giving him some salt water to replenish his body. Garen took the cup of water and downed it clean. He saw what had happened to him and felt something odd. "Okay, rest for a little, and then find more people in the afternoon. You guys will attack from all directions." "Understood." After seeing everyone's pressure alleviate, Garen was certain he'd achieved his goal. Everyone was under high duress and fear when they heard the Celestial Circle Gate was invading. But now that he displayed the unbelievable amount of force, it would ease the enormous amount of pressure everyone was holding and calm their minds. Although he had officially mastered the entry level of the Iron Body's secret method, he didn't know how much his defense had actually increased. Weapon damage differed, and even between assault rifles, there were significant variances in damage among the different models. The assault rifle Grace managed to get was obtained through a network of connections, hence its power was limited. Since those people weren't part of the military, the assault rifle would be different from ones they encountered on the way back. It's disappointing that the progress in Dark Iron Palm and Firestream Fist is limited. Looks like it'll be impossible to master them in a short amount of time. Dark Iron Palm requires the build-up of toxins, whereas Firestream Fist's progress is simply too slow. I must think of other ways. He pondered, standing in the same spot. It would be ideal if there are secret methods similar to Iron Body. He placed his thoughts someplace else as he approached Colin on the side. With his voice lowered, he said, "Oh, the 12 southern gates are closest to the Circle Dance Gate and 7 Mood Gate. The Celestial Circle Gate is going to be an uphill battle, you guys have to train hard. If you have any questions, just ask me. In the afternoon I plan to visit one of the 2 gates and see if I can find something useful from their wushu collections. Do you know which one of these 2 gates has a wider collection?" The group quieted down after hearing that the subject took a serious turn. Grace led the men away, so they wouldn't interrupt the conversation, and used the time to pay them for the services. When they heard the question, both Colin and Simon looked troubled. "Senior brother, we are only disciples, and thus, do not have a lot of encounters with these gates," Colin replied with her voice lowered. "I only know that the Circle Dance Gate is farther away. The 7 Moon Gate is located in the Skylark Mountain at Dyna City, which is near us. The 7 Moon Gate is also renowned as the 7 Moon Corporation. They are a conglomerate that's known for real estate, heavy metal, crafts and multiple other areas. I am not too sure about the other things." Garen's eyebrows rose slightly when he heard the response. "Do you know something more, Simon?" Hee. Simon touched his nose and didn't respond, only laughing awkwardly. "I know something about the 7 Moon Corporation," Grace, who just came over, said. "It has always looked for books to add to their collection. When I was at Manleydon Corporation, I've been notified several times about their purchases of related books. They won't disappoint you." Garen nodded. I will make a trip to Dyna City in the afternoon with the address they provided. Perhaps I will find something useful. Also, the White Cloud Gate's base is basically non-existent. We better move until second senior brother comes back. If there is any danger after I leave, you guys flee in different directions, so it'll be difficult to trace you. Although he knew that if the White Cloud Gate base was captured, it would be detrimental to the reputation of the Southern 12 Gates. For the safety of everyone, Garen carefully told everyone to abandon it. Understood, senior brother, you don't have to worry, Simon responded. The sentence sounded odd as Colin pinched him. This is a conflict between the martially adept. You guys are in a different situation compared to me. I killed Celestial Circle Gate's Ni 10-star, so there is no way it'll be easily resolved. But the rule is that conflicts stop at the family level, but they will only bother me with the rule. As long as I don't hide, my family will be okay. If you guys hide, they will not make trouble with your families. If you must run, do so immediately. After I leave, you guys go hide somewhere with the master. Is that okay? No problem, I can take care of this. I have a mansion in the rural area that's vacant. I can move everyone there. Grace nodded as she responded. Everyone agreed. Garen carefully explained to Colin and the group what was the safest way to handle certain situations. He then answered some questions they had in the Martial Coliseum, and only after that put on some clothes and left the dojo. Even Grace, who wanted to follow, was refused. He would have more flexibility going alone. The truth was that White Cloud Gate's true power consisted of only 6 people, the 4 brothers along with Master and an elder. All the others were considered mercenaries and had no loyalty, and were a negligible force. Now, Master was unconscious, the senior sister had betrayed the gate, the second senior brother's presence was unknown, and the third senior brother was prevented from leaving the house to join the conflict in the Wushu world. The elder had also disappeared without leaving any trace behind. The entire White Cloud Gate was left for Garen alone to defend. Master's friends were all people from the Southern 12 Gates. All of them were in deep water themselves, so none could have the freedom to lend a helping hand. The Celestial Circle Gate had clearly indicated they would target White Cloud Gate. Andrella along with his companions were already on their way. Perhaps the 6th Golden Loop's Su Lin would waste some of their time, delaying them for a few days, but Andrella would arrive at Waishan City in a matter of a couple days' time regardless. Garen adjusted his body's condition, recovering to full power. The first thing he had to do was ensure that everyone else had settled to avoid the problem in his backyard. Then he would head to the remaining 12 southern gates to assist them. He would have greater flexibility if he traveled alone, as he would be able to assist other gates in a hurry. They would concentrate all their forces to defend against the Celestial Circle Gate. Of course, searching for lower-tier secret methods was also one of his intentions. 7 Moon Gate, Skylark Mountain's peak, where 7 Moon Corporation's headquarters were located. There was the address left by Rampaz when he left, and it was the destination of Garen's trip. The fortunate thing was that the 7 Moon Gate was only a 2-hour drive away from Waishan City. Although close, without this incident, the 7 Moon Gate might not have established a connection with the White Cloud Gate. This ancient gate was far more powerful compared to the White Cloud Gate. The former master in charge was not the strongest within the gate. In contrast to White Cloud Gate, within the 7 Moon Gate, there were 3 people at the level of Fei Baiyun. They had a countless amount of disciples, and were far stronger. They were at the top of the pyramid in the entire Galantia province, and ranked second among the southern 12 gates. Garen guessed that the reason Andrella came was to target the 7 Moon Gate. He alone would be enough to deal with their conflict. Compared to a behemoth like the 7 Moon Gate, the White Cloud Gate was simply too weak. All of the southern 12 gates received a detrimental blow. Even before reaching Dyna City, Garen spotted powerful martial adepts rushing to the mountain peak. It was likely that the weaker gates in the southern 12 gates were seeing 7 Moon Gate as the last battleground and concentrated all their forces there. They wanted to use the 7 Moon Gate to preserve themselves. In the middle of a vast lush grassland, a white train was moving forward slowly along the tracks. It looked like a white thread in the middle of a green handkerchief. In a carriage in the middle section of the train, light was almost non-existent, only traces of white light shone in through both sides. A one-eyed man with long hair down to the waist was silently standing in the dark. Silvered once told me, "Give up your eyes for a broader world," the man said in a low voice as if he was talking to himself. He had a black eye patch over his left eye, while a sparkling glow faintly reflected on the dark golden eyelashes of his right eye. My heart will tell me what higher realm I intend to pursue, he inexplicably muttered. Andrella. With a bang, the carriage door opened. An old man with green eyes and white hair stood at the door. Still contemplating, you have reached the level of Grand Master of Combat for more than a year now. Dealing with an average guy doesn't require such extensive preparation. It's alright, I don't underestimate any single opponent, that's my principle. Andrella gave a warm smile. Your characteristic is having the fastest speed and strongest penetrating power, which by chance neutralizes the strengths of that Garen. No matter how you see it, you have much better odds of winning. The old man shook his head and continued, fine, it's up to you. Oh yeah, the fine metal blocks for testing that you requested have arrived. He turned around and left without closing the door behind him. Soon, more than a dozen people gradually carried in 5 black metal blocks and laid them out one by one in front of Andrella to form a straight line. Each metal block was cast from fine iron and extremely tough, all half the height of a person. After laying down the metal blocks, they silently exited the carriage of their own accord and gently closed the door. Andrella slowly unsheathed a fine sword from his waist. Sheeing. A silver strand flashed in the dark then instantly vanished. The 5 metal blocks were punctured in the middle with round holes. The round holes pierced straight through all 5 fine metal blocks. The edges of the holes were rounded and smooth, and still had a faint redness on them. Heat waves gradually dispersed in the air. It was the residual heat created from piercing through the metal blocks at high speed. Andrella looked at the metal blocks calmly. No one knew what he was thinking, but he seemed to be deep in thought. Outside the door, the green-eyed elder stood by the carriage window. He quietly watched the grassland scenery passing by rapidly outside. A girl in a crimson dress silently stood behind him. Even though we have confidence in Andrella, but for the sake of precaution, we still have to be well prepared. Are the people from Manleydon Corporation ready? Yes, according to the report that came back to us, they are ready and have probably gained the trust of the kid from White Cloud Gate, the crimson-dressed girl replied in a hushed tone. That's good. Prepare them to take action and administer the drug in batches. This drug can lie dormant for 3 days, that's when we'll arrive. Moreover, there will be no signs of the drug after the fact. We can't lose this time. Defeating White Cloud Gate is beside the point. The main issue is that old geezer from 7 Moon Gate. Andrella needs to conserve his energy. Unfortunately, I'm too old, I can't personally participate. Otherwise, I could have cleared the path to make it easier for him. The old man sighed with regret. You've done enough, the girl said softly. Grace, why are you here? They were in the train station in Dyna City by a busy platform with the crowd coming and going. Garen frowned as he looked at Grace in front of him. She hung her head low and was carrying a black handbag with both of her hands. The way she dressed made her seem like a traveling college student. Her white sweater and white jeans accentuated her high breasts and slender legs. Long light blonde hair casually draped over her shoulder, tied with a black hair band in the middle. This was a change from her cool and alluring style. It was now replaced with an air of innocence with a hint of sexiness. I just wanted to follow you, Grace calmly replied. After all, you'll need someone to help you deal with sundry matters. Have you arranged with the others? Garen helplessly massaged his temples. Yes, all done. Let's go then. Garen was speechless. Since she had already come over, he couldn't possibly send her back. Based on the address that Rampas gave them, they hailed a horse carriage, negotiated a price, then stepped into the carriage and rushed straight towards the headquarters of the 7 Moon Group. When they arrived at the headquarters building, there were already people stationed in front of the entrance. Apparently, as a local, 7 Moon Gate was very good at obtaining intelligence. Garen was discovered as soon as he had arrived. The people stationed at the entrance escorted them into the building without wasting any time and led them straight to Rampas, who was training hard in secret martial arts. I thought, senior brother Garen, that you would have come sooner. I didn't expect you to be late. A white towel draped over Rampas' shoulder, his body radiated heat as he walked out of the room. He sat across from Garen. The attendant on the side served some aromatic milk coffee. Miss, why aren't you sitting? Rampas looked at Grace. He didn't know what her relationship with Garen was. It's fine, I'll just stand, Grace declined respectfully. She silently stood behind Garen and insisted on not sitting down. After dismissing the attendant, Rampas sat up straight, picked up the coffee and took a swig. Compared to when he was fleeing danger, now he seemed more confident and had the relaxed and calm manner of a master. Apologies, senior brother Garen. All the other elders of the gate are busy entertaining the masters and representatives from other sects. Now, most of the strength of the whole southern 12 gates is gathered here at 7 Moon Gate, so they're a little preoccupied to receive you. And since you saved my life, and we're both familiar with each other, it has fallen to me to entertain you. I hope you don't mind, Rampas explained apologetically. Not at all, receiving guests is merely a formality. In these pressing times, I don't really mind. Garen smiled. Just that this time I'm here, I'd like to take a look at some low-level secret martial art collections from 7 Moon Gate. We've been fighting all the way back. I want to see if I can read more on other secret martial arts to broaden my martial arts perspective. This secret martial art, Rampas seemed to be put in a tough spot. Senior brother Garen, you should be clear that secret martial arts, albeit at low levels, are the foundations on which sects are established. On this matter, I'm afraid I can't make the decision. Just tell me outright what conditions you have, Garen said calmly. I need to consult the elder deputy sect master. Please wait for a moment. Rampas didn't want Garen to go home empty-handed either. After all, he had witnessed Garen's powerful true strength along the journey. A secret martial art practitioner with such great potential, the only option was to stay on his good side, particularly in such critical times. I'll wait for you here then. Garen took a sip of his coffee. All right, I'll be back in a moment. Rampas stood up and left from the side door. He's just a junior. For the fact that he escorted the sect master back, we'll give him some money and have him on his way. These small sects keep coming to us for refuge and support. What support? It's just money they want. Do they think money falls from the sky for the 7 Moon group? Just a few words, open their mouth and they can get a few million. What a joke. But elder, senior brother Garen isn't here for money. Rampas frowned as he tried to draw a distinction. He found Great Elder came in resting in the conference room. It was obvious that the Great Elder had been angered by someone. He was furiously chugging his tea. Not money, what then? The Great Elder was curious, and immediately stopped what he was doing. Senior brother wants to have a look at low-level secret martial art. What? Secret martial art? Ask him to get lost right now. The senior elder stood up at once, infuriated. Have him leave immediately. Secret martial art, is that something to be requested by a small sect like White Cloud Gate? Forget about having a look, they don't even have the right to think about it. What does White Cloud Gate think it is anyway? Nothing but a puny third-grade sect. How dare they threaten us at this hour? They think we can't fend off Celestial Circle Gate without them. What a joke. Any random secret martial art from 7 Moon Gate would be far more powerful than their secret mammoth technique. The Great Elder trembled with fury. Great Elder, Rampas wanted to keep arguing but was cut off by the Great Elder. Say no more. In this incident, the sect master was heavily injured and is now unconscious, but I see that you're safe and sound. Good for you. Very well done. I still haven't disciplined all of you for that. Now you're asking for a favor on behalf of someone else. The Great Elder stood up and furiously walked out the door. He passed through the corridors and was soon out of sight. Rampas hastily got up and gave chase, persuading him all the way. In a corridor connected to this corridor, Garen walked out of the room with grace, a terrible expression on his face. The conference room that the Great Elder was in was not far from the previous room. With his current physical fitness, having attained the powerful hearing of a Grand Master of Combat, he could naturally hear every word being said. Let's go. I thought 7 Moon Gate needed my help, and we could join forces to defeat Celestial Circle Gate, but it seems that they couldn't care less about a mediocre sect like ours. Garen said in a calm tone, then turned to leave from the way he came. Grace followed closely behind him. Not long after Rampas gave chase, he got wind about Garen and Grace's departure. He instantly knew that this spelled trouble. Apart from overhearing what they had said, there was no other reason that Garen would have left abruptly without saying goodbye. He guessed it immediately. Garen must have been impatient when he didn't return, so he walked out of his room and overheard the conversation in the conference room. Great Elder, he roared as he couldn't hold it in any longer. The Great Elder walking in front turned around in shock. You're shouting at me. The more Rampas thought about it, the more he got angry and felt offended. His face was red with anger as he stood panting in the corridor. Great Elder, senior brother Garen has left. Are you happy now? What gives you the right to shout at me? The Great Elder's expression turned somber. What does it have to do with me, whether he's left or not? Senior brother Garen saved the sect master and all of our lives. Is that the way Seven Moon Gate should treat him? Very well. That's amazing. Rampas had always thought that the Great Elder had a hot temper but was still good-natured. He didn't expect him to not know right from wrong in this matter and act out impulsively like this. No one needs his saving. Who begged him to save anyone? What a joke. Saved the sect master. Saved all of you. The Great Elder sniggered. I'm telling you Rampas, Celestial Circle Gate is powerful, but Seven Moon Gate is no lightweight either. Even without that Garen, would they dare touch any of our people? Even if the sect master is unconscious from the challenge, would Celestial Circle Gate dare touch him even once? You know nothing, and yet you dare shout at me. Do you even know what the true assets of Seven Moon Gate are? Rampas was trembling in fury. He didn't want to argue with the Great Elder anymore, so he turned around and stormed off. His father was the second elder, his authority within the sect was only one rank below the Great Elder. He wanted to see his own father. Unfortunately, regardless of whether it was his father or the other elders he was close with, they were of the same attitude, to ignore without exception. They felt that this was only a minor issue. Garen of White Cloud Gate threatened to obtain the secret martial art collection but failed, then left in anger. Such display was not rare among the many small sects. Representatives or sect master of these small sects often come over and take advantage of the times when Seven Moon Gate was in need of strength. Money, secret martial art, precious herbs, power and resources, and so on, they've requested all manner of favors. Initially, Seven Moon Gate received them with the intention of making more friends, but their demands became more and more outrageous as time passed. The whole sect gradually became more indignant and agitated about it. Garen and Grace walked out of the Seven Moon Gate building with somber expressions. It was then that they saw a few other people walk out of the building furiously, obviously suffering the same fate as them. Seven Moon Gate, they're too much. A fit old man was panting in anger as he walked out of the building accompanied by his two disciples. They are financially sound and have substantial power and true strength. They don't need common secret martial art practitioners like us. Let's just pack and leave. The whole southern 12 gates only needs Seven Moon Gate, the other sects are redundant, a group of brawny men said in an off tone. It's not just our two sects that have been driven away these few days. Of the southern 12 gates, only Red Obsidian Gate has been shown meticulous hospitality, whereas the rest. Hee hee. Garen shook his head, speechless. He led Grace to the side of the road, ready to hail a ride. Senior brother Garen. Suddenly, the cute voice of a girl sounding surprised came from his left. Is it really you, senior brother Garen? Garen and Grace turned around. They saw a pretty girl dressed like a high school student carrying a small white satchel rushing towards them. The girl was one of the members of Circling Dance Gate they met on their way back. Even though Garen didn't have any recollection of her, it was apparent that she viewed the strong and striking Garen with great admiration. The girl ran to them. When she saw their somber expressions, she instantly guessed the situation. They are too much. They've even rejected senior brother Garen. Seven Moon Gate is really. The girl was indignant. You're from Circling Dance Gate. You're. Garen hesitated. Sorry, I have a poor memory. He smiled in embarrassment. On that journey back, everyone from Circling Dance Gate, from ordinary disciples to the eldest senior sister leading the group, completely didn't register with him. I am Imogen Liliet from Bodia. I'm a 5th-generation disciple at Circling Dance Gate, ranked 2nd. I'm 21 this year. The girl patted her chest as she introduced herself with pride. Only when she approached did he realize, her height was only up to Garen's chest. She looked like a young teenage Lolita, only about 120 centimeters tall. Seemingly aware of Garen and Grace's strange look in their eyes, Imogen Liliet anxiously emphasized at once, 21 years old. Yes, we know you're 21 years old. Garen was speechless. Fine, I'm used to it anyway, Imogen Liliet said helplessly. Her expression returned to normal and said, Senior brother Garen, you're here for anything we can help you with. Circling Dance Gate will be behind you in full force. Initially, I wanted to take a look at the low-level secret martial art collections of Seven Moon Gate, as reference material. I didn't expect them to refuse me, so I just left, Garen shrugged. If you don't mind, you are free to refer to the secret martial art of circling dance gate, including the hereditary secret martial art of our sect, Imogen Liliet said solemnly. We've heard about the situation at White Cloud Gate. If you need funds, we've just raised 2 million on our end. You can have it to tide you over. You have the authority. I do, because this is my mother's intention, Imogen Liliet chuckled. This is our first meeting. Thank you so much, Mr. Garen, for escorting my daughter safely home, a calm female voice came from behind them. Garen was stunned. He didn't notice anyone approaching him from behind. He frantically turned his body sideways to look behind him. Suddenly, he saw a beautiful blonde with a calm temperament standing behind him. Her smooth blonde hair draped over her shoulders. She had delicate skin and features, and blue eyes as clear as the sea. She was a beauty who constantly radiated a cool temperament. Garen was considered calm compared to Grace. She jumped in shock and almost twisted her ankle. Apologies. The blonde lady smiled apologetically at both of them, but it seemed as if she was not used to smiling. Her smile gave an odd and awkward impression. I am Imogen Liliet's mother, Jaimea Liliet, also the current Great Elder of Circling Dance Gate. Why are you all here at 7 Moon Gate? Garen was confused. His nose caught a hint of fragrance, and out of courtesy, he distanced himself away slightly. The headquarters of Circling Dance Gate and 7 Moon Gate are both in Dyna City, Jaimea Liliet explained. My daughter and I were just out to buy some sundries and coincidentally passed by. We didn't expect to meet the two of you from White Cloud Gate. Even though we're insignificant compared to 7 Moon Gate, but if you don't mind, why not come over to Circling Dance Gate for a while? Garen quickly thought about it, then accepted the invitation. Yes, that sounds lovely. Just as well we could pay a visit to the headquarters of Circling Dance Gate. Jaimea Liliet had a cool temperament and was somewhat blunt in the manner she spoke, but the way she looked at Garen and Grace was indeed sincere. Even though the influence of Circling Dance Gate wasn't as strong compared to 7 Moon Gate, they didn't seem weak either. Soon, 2 slightly old black cars drove over and stopped next to where they stood. Garen and Grace stepped into the car at the back, while Jaimea Liliet and her daughter sat in the car in front. Both cars slowly drove towards the other end of Dyna City. Half an hour later, Garen was sitting face to face with Jaimea Liliet and eldest senior sister Vickard in the middle of a wooden dojo. The dojo was a rectangular structure, made entirely of wood. It was slightly dilapidated. The entrance was to the left. On the walls at both ends hung 2 white paper banners with the words, Martial Arts, and Dance, written in black ink separately. The reddish-brown wooden floorboards were neatly arranged and well polished, but defects could be seen in some parts of the floor, giving the sense that it was time-worn. Despite being slightly dilapidated, the entire dojo was filled with a faint scent of incense, and there wasn't a trace of sweaty odor. It was clearly well maintained. In front of Garen was a glass teacup filled with rainflower tea. The reddish-pink tea in the cup looked exquisite. Bits of flower petals were floating in the tea like watery red crystals, and the tea had a delicate floral aroma. It was an exceptionally pleasant aesthetic experience altogether. Senior brother Garen, thank you for your care before. Vickard was the Circling Dance Gate leader that Garen escorted. She looked dainty and adorable now. The hosts were both clad in black robes and long black socks. Apparently, it was the standard attire here. Jaimea Liliet motioned to Garen to drink his tea. Mr. Garen, you saved our sect master and several of our disciples, including my daughter. Even though we are a small establishment, we are clear that gratitude should be repaid as much as revenge should be exacted. Secret martial art and funds are not a problem. Whatever else you need, feel free to ask for it. I will fulfill your request to the best of my abilities on behalf of Circling Dance Gate. Garen was undoubtedly touched. How did you know I needed secret martial art? Jaimea Liliet calmly explained. Most people who have visited 7 Moon Gate of late are primarily after these 2 things. I apologize if I have offended you, but I am only telling it as it is. It's fine. Garen could tell that Circling Dance Gate was not doing very well itself. Despite the fact that the dojo was huge, it was dilapidated to the extent that they didn't even have the funds to properly maintain and repair it. Even White Cloud Gate was much better off. When he thought about how the headquarters of Circling Dance Gate and 7 Moon Gate were both located within Dyna City, the answer was obvious: the former must have been harshly oppressed by the latter. In a case where they were not well off but displayed generosity out of gratitude, such an attitude was in stark contrast to what Garen experienced at Seven Moon Gate. Garen actually felt somewhat ashamed. He didn't pay much attention to Circling Dance Gate at the time, but just helped them out incidentally. He didn't expect that it would be this humble female sect that could help him out right now. Actually, we have no need for funds, Garen carefully thought about how to phrase it. We at White Cloud Gate are not facing a huge problem with funding. This was the truth. The dojo account had tens of millions in funds. These were the sect funds voluntarily passed on to Colin and Simon by the stout Buvini in charge of finances. Garen wasn't short of money. Upon hearing that they didn't lack funds, the two from Circling Dance Gate were immediately relieved and felt even more grateful to Garen. It was apparent that they were extremely tight on funds. They haven't been able to cover their cost in recent years, with the dojo income decreasing rapidly. If it was money that Garen requested, they would have given it to him, but that would have put them in a tougher situation. I'm here not for money or whatever else. I'm here for secret martial art, Garen said formally. No problem, including our hereditary secret martial art, you are free to study and record all the secret martial art within our library, Jaime Lilia nodded in agreement. Hereditary secret martial art is the foundation of a sect, I don't want it, and I have no need for it. I am merely looking for some low-level secret martial art to broaden my martial arts perspective, for reference, Garen promptly explained. Regardless, I'll take you to the library at once. How does that sound? Jaime Liliad resolutely stood up and asked. Garen didn't expect her to be so eager. No hurry, let's have a chat and rest for now. Very well. Jaime Liliad felt that she was slightly overeager, and slowly sat down again. Excuse my manners. And then it became a question and answer session between the three. Garen asked, and they answered. They were the type who wouldn't speak when not questioned and seemed as though they didn't interact much with people, their tone was somewhat blunt. By casually asking a few questions, Garen gathered a general idea of Circling Dance Gate and understood the types of characters within it. There was a total of 12 people in the sect, external disciples included. The modest and austere style of the dojo business made it unattractive. Coupled with the fact that they were oppressed by Seven Moon Gate, the entire operation was bleak, and they could barely make ends meet. The dojo master in charge of the day-to-day was Jaime Liliat's father, a headstrong man advanced in years. He was adamant in preserving the estate inherited from their ancestors, unwilling to sell the current headquarters and dojo. This didn't help their poor financial situation. Everyone in the dojo, including Jaime Liliat, regardless of their external personality, were tough and headstrong characters, all bent on preserving the dojo. Originally, as a secret martial arts sect in one of the southern 12 gates, they were entitled to a fixed income and certain benefits. This was the key reason Circling Dance Gate joined, and it was this fixed income that kept the dojo in business. But now Lucine Brotherhood, the strongest of the southern 12 gates, has been obliterated. This sect was the leader and organizer of the southern 12 gates. They were in charge of distributing the annual benefits and funds. Without that income, it had become more difficult for them to keep the dojo running.